Raiders. The rookie out of Cornell, the 4th round pick, is going to get the start. They've had their problems at the tackle position today. Harlow and Kennedy. And all year long it's been a problem when you consider they've given up 50 sacks so far this season. But Levitt is going to get the start. The rookie out of Cornell. And Tim Brown going to his 6th consecutive Pro Bowl. Tight end Dudley, the motion man. And wide of Levitt, the intended target on 1st down for Jeff George.
Well, I think he was just a little too wide open in a flat, and Jeff George just tried to get him the ball as quick as he could.
Incomplete pass, 2nd and 2.
Banged up group defensively for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They lost Seth Payne. Ezra Tuaolo is going to get the start next to the rookie Ronaldo Wynn. Lageman, Simmons providing experience on the outside. Hardy almost back after missing 3 games midseason with an ankle injury. And Thomason figures they are going to be tested by Brown and Jet this afternoon. 2nd and 10 from the 23. Wide open and across. Tim Brown's got the 1st down. After the 37. Forced out with the strong safety Travis Davis.
How many times do you see Tim Brown do this? I mean, every time you ever watch him, he's at the top of your screen coming in motion, and he pretty much waits till the linebackers get their depth, slides underneath, and Jeff George pretty much just that 3-4 yard pass and let Tim Brown run with it.
Well, Tim Brown was upset that he wasn't obviously getting the plays called that he wanted just a few weeks back. Throwing again on 1st down, looking like they wanted the screen, and out of the pocket Jeff George simply throws the ball away. With the heat coming from the outside, and Jeff Lageman. Great expectations. We talked about that at the top of the telecast, and Jeff George told us yesterday he's never been so disappointed in his pro career.
Yeah, it's not just because of some of the things that's happened defensively, but when you put up those type of numbers, I mean, those are impressive. Those are very good numbers for a quarterback. And we talked about Napoleon Kaufman and what Tim Brown has been, the 12 touchdowns by James Jett. But he's frustrated because their team is 4-11. I mean, so many people on paper, we think that they'd be 11-4.
It's a 2nd and 10 situation. Tim Brown again beats the 1st man. Gets an extra 3-4 yards, getting away from the linebacker. Broke the tackle of Brant Boyer and takes it out to the 43.
And you talked a little bit of Joel about Tim Brown wanting to call his own plays. I think he just realized that in order for their team to be successful, he's got to touch the football. And if you're a coach, you'd almost think that maybe he's right. Maybe we should ask him a few plays that he would like. But I'll put it this way. He needs 3 catches, as you see here, to break the Raider record, and that's impressive in its own.
With a new offensive coordinator this year, Ray Perkins. Former head coach in the NFL, and now a 3rd and 4. No flags on the play. And a 1st down reception again for Tim Brown. So now he only needs 2 more catches to surpass Fred Bolitnikov's totals. He's the all-time receiving leader here.
You'd almost think that they want to get this out of the way quick. Just get Tim Brown the football, but Jeff George and Tim Brown are almost like best friends, so you know exactly what he's going to be looking at. But you think by now the Jaguars would realize, okay, maybe we need to double cover him. Maybe we need to put somebody on him, bump and run. But you're always going to need somebody extra if you're going to bump and run Tim Brown.
1st down Oakland. The 48-yard line of Jacksonville. Now Kaufman touches it for the 1st time today. Barely pulled down by Kevin Hardy into the secondary. A quick 8 yards for Kaufman. Only 36 yards last week on 16 carries. One of his shortest days.
Well, I remember doing his game many weeks ago. And the speed and the quickness that guy has is just unbelievable. I mean, not quite like a Barry Sanders, but very impressive when he gets a hold of the football, averaging over 4.8 yards a carry.
Huge field goal just a couple of minutes ago from Minnesota, leading by 9. Can wrap up a playoff spot with a win there. Tim Hall has taken over for Kaufman to the backfield on 2nd and short. And it's dropped by Hall. He was right at the 1st down marker. Pressure from Ronaldo Wynn forcing Jeff George out of the pocket.
And I think if Jeff George would have had a little bit more time, he had both Dudley and Brown, one on a deep corner route, and Dudley was about 12-14 yards downfield, nobody on him. So Jeff George just didn't quite have the time to find Dudley out in the flat all by himself.
No score so far. Big Jets Detroit game. Just about 4 minutes into that matchup. And now 3rd and a couple at the Jacksonville 40. The ball deflected away from Ricky Dudley. Nice play with the linebacker, Kevin Hardy, second-year man out of Illinois. First-round draft choice last year.
And, of course, you hear a few boos. They would like pass interference. But you see Kevin Hardy right there covering Dudley. And he's pretty much just trying to shield him. But that's pretty good defense. I mean, runs right into him. He tries to get open. It's almost called a lookie. Come across the middle, look for the football, and get in position where you can catch the ball and make that first down.
They want the Raiders to go for it at 4-11. It's 4th and a couple, and they really did want the Raiders in Jacksonville territory to take a chance early. Aragus doing a great job with the 45-yard average. Wobbles one out to Reggie Barlow. Their catch is taken in close to the 10.
I don't know about that. I think 4th down and 2 around the 40-yard line. I go, what do they have to lose?
It's been a phenomenal year for Mark Brunell, going to the Pro Bowl for the 2nd consecutive season. He was the MVP, you might remember, the Pro Bowl last year. Changes up front. Baselli, their Pro Bowl left tackle, is out today. Ben Coleman slides from guard to tackle. Jeff Novak, the reserve to tackle, moves into the starting lineup at left guard. Will they be able to pound Means today? They want to. Jimmy Smith going to the Pro Bowl, as well as Mark Brunell from that offensive unit, just like Tony Baselli. Brunell so efficient in the first half against the Buffalo Bills, and calling an audible right now. Means on first down into the secondary. First down and then some across the 25 to the 27. Shoddy tackling has plagued the Oakland Raiders all year long. 18 yards on the first drive for Means today, tripped up by the free safety Eric Turner. Not much penetration from this group this year. Russell, Maryland, McLaughlin, and Andre Bruce. Strength, their linebackers, Fredrickson, and Folston. McDaniel working with Carter today due to the injury to the other cornerback, Albert Lewis. He's gone with a knee injury. Brunell firing for Jimmy Smith, and it's taken in for another first down to the 38, working on Terry McDaniel.
Going back, Joe, the last play when we talked about Brunell audible, and one thing that they told us, they wanted to outpace tempo so they can give him a chance once he's at the line of scrimmage to audible, and that's exactly what he did. And we're going to be keeping a close eye on that to see how quick they get up to the line of scrimmage to give him an opportunity to change the play if he needs to.
And look at the urgency as they get up to the line of scrimmage with so much time still left on the play clock. First down from the 38. Brunell throwing the deep ball well over the last couple of weeks. His receiver falls down. No flag as he was going in the direction again to Jimmy Smith. Working up against Terry McDaniel.
But number one, the ball really wasn't catchable, but anytime both defensive back and receiver are looking back at the football, or really pretty much step for step right here, they trip over each other's foot. You really can't call that pass interference. Just one of those things that happens.
Area of emphasis to us yesterday from head coach Tom Coughlin. He said it's a good time of the year for Mark Brunell to be throwing the deep ball well. Maybe the best he's thrown it all year long. Did a couple of bombs last week against Buffalo. One to McCardell, one to Smith. Flags on the play. On second and short, or second and long, it takes it to the 40. Means for 2. It'll bring up 3rd and long. So 3rd and about 8 coming up. Looked like the Raiders could have been offside. No flag on the play, though.
I pretty much thought that they were. Great jump on the football. Maybe a little too soon, but again, the official, Johnny Greer's crew, no penalty.
Drive started back at their 10. It's now 3rd and 8 from the 40. Complete, and the first down. Reggie Barlow's got it. Across the midfield stripe to the 48-yard line. So the drive is still alive for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Their first possession of the contest. Joel Myers, along with Jim Kelly. Welcome to those of you who've just watched Minnesota gain a spot in the playoffs with a win over the Indianapolis Colts. We are just underway, a little more than 5 minutes in, and Mark Brunell very efficiently moving the Jacksonville Jaguars. No score between the Oakland Raiders and Jacksonville. Means on first down. He got 18 on his first carry of the day. That time throttled by Russell Maryland and chopped down after a gain of only a yard.
Well, Mark Brunell's not having the opportunity, or well, I shouldn't say opportunities, not having to change the play. The one thing I keep looking at, because of what they told us yesterday about trying to get the plays off as quick as possible, they're leaving themselves between 15 and 20 seconds every time. That's impressive, especially if you want Brunell to take advantage of some of the things that the Raiders are going to try to do defensively.
So a 9-point win for the Minnesota Vikings, and they finally stop that 5-game losing streak. Stewart in the backfield, out of the shotgun, Brunell. Pocket holds up well and wide open. The grab is made at the 35 in front of Terry McDaniel. Taking it in on the far side, Keenan McCardell. He's been their hot one. 38 catches coming in over the last 5 games.
Mark Brunell, I think the key to this is him stepping up inside the pocket. As you can see, that's all you really have to do as a quarterback, having to be able to slide up, come back in. But this is one thing that the Jacksonville Jaguars do a good job of, run those deep curl and deep comeback patterns.
McCardell almost lost it.
There's Brunell checking off again.
Let's see who his hot man is. 1st and 10 from the 35. Going for the home run. He's got a man. Touchdown, Jacksonville. Keenan McCardell. They have been really going after Terry McDaniel.
Well, they sure have, and you hit it right on the nose when you said Tom Coughlin has said that Mark Brunell has thrown the deep ball better than he ever has. And he sees this. He checks off right here. He realizes what he has. Terry McDaniel does a good job getting around there, but with McCardell, with that speed and that perfect throw by Mark Brunell, that's unstoppable.
To attempt the point after.
Phenomenal day last week for McCardell. Carry over in the final game of the regular season. They did not want to have a letdown. Well, a 90-yard march to open the afternoon. Not close to a letdown for Tom Coughlin. Hollis for the point after. And what an impressive beginning. Jacksonville trying to finish the season 500 on the road. What a head start on the touchdown pass from Mark Brunell to Keenan McCardell.
Budweiser has 12 breweries located across the country. The Budweiser that you get from your local brewery is usually the freshest beer available in the marketplace. As a matter of fact, an import in its home country will taste much different than it does by the time it gets here to the United States. An American beer brewed locally is going to be far superior in taste. Our policy is to have beer on the shelf no older than 110 days. Budweiser sells very quickly. The average age of Budweiser on the shelf is about 30 days. And compare that to an import, which could be upwards of 180 days or 360 days old. Having local breweries across the country in specific geographic locations ensures that your Budweiser is the freshest possible beer it can be by the time you purchase it.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Budweiser, Beechwood aged for a crisp, clean, classic taste. By Honda, vehicles designed to help simplify your life. By MasterCard, there are some things in life you can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. And by DVD Video from Philips Magnavox, technology for the heart, the spirit, and the imagination.
Holiday greetings if you're a Jacksonville Jaguar. As they started it impressively today with a 7-play, 90-yard drive, taking a little more than 4.5 minutes off the clock. Finished it off with Keenan McCardell catching a 35-yard pass from Mark Brunell. Great start for Brunell.
4 for 5, 71 yards. Not bad at all. I think that coming into the game, we said that how important the running game with Stewart and Natron Means is going to be, not only in this game, but how important it's going to be into the playoffs, because once you know you have to travel to, whether it's Denver or whether the Jaguars play at home, they're going to need that running game. They cannot continue to lay all the pressure on Mark Brunell, making him come up with the big plays. I mean, he has all the weapons, two great receivers on the outside, McCardell and Jimmy Smith, but that's a lot of pressure on one individual.
I thought it was interesting. Tom Coughlin told us, you know, as much as you talk about the ground game and defense, don't forget that, you know, when they beat you, it was a 30-27 final. It was a high-scoring affair as well against the Denver Broncos in the first round or the second round of the playoffs. He emphasized they really have to score a lot of points. They know that going into the playoffs, that they better have their offense together. All phases of the offense together. Hollis kicking it to Howard and Hall again. It'll be Howard from the 12. And Desmond Howard taken down to the hurry across the 25, right at the 26-yard line by defensive back Aaron Beasley. George and the Raiders get it for the second time today when we come back to Oakland.
It's famous for highways and reducing wind to a whisper. It's as comfortable and quiet as you want it to be. It's steering wheel mounted audio controls that let you live your life like a movie and score your own soundtrack. It's a 210 horsepower performance, and you've got front row seats. It's the RL from Acura, the true definition of luxury. Yours.
Size 4 flowered dress, $45. $1 lipstick, $15. Haircut, $25. Autofocus camera, $260. 5 generations in one photograph. Priceless. There are some things money can't buy. For everything else, there's MasterCard. Accepted all over, even photo labs.
Now. Can you come home?
No, I'm in the middle of nowhere.
It took weeks and news to reach its destination. Today, neither time nor distance can keep us from sharing our lives.
Breathe, honey. Hey, you get another contraction? 5, 6, 7.
Philips introduces ISIS, the cellular phone that can let you talk up to 6 long hours.
I love you, honey. Honey?
ISIS from Philips.
My name is Anthony. I make it to midfield and back in 9.7 seconds. My friends think I'm lucky. I just think I'm fast.
The net of the Super Bowl. You're watching the NFL on NBC.
Jeff George took the Raiders down to the Jacksonville 40 on their opening possession before it stalled. Failed on 3rd and 2. The ball back to Jacksonville. Now they get into their own 26. And Kaufman is buried in the backfield. Great penetration. Ronaldo Wynn, the rookie out of Notre Dame, their first-round draft choice.
Well, Ronaldo Wynn is a run stuffer. He's the type of guy that you want up there. You want to be able to get into the backfield, get back here, force the running back to make his moves 2 or 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, and that's exactly what they did.
So a loss back to the 22. It'll be 2nd and 14. Showing the blitz. They pick it up. Wide open. Tim Brown. As wide as you will ever find him. For the 34. That's already his 4th grab of the day.
Well, Tom Coughlin told us that they were going to come after Jeff George, but the only thing that they thought they were a little worried about is when you do blitz, you have to cover the outside receivers 1-on-1. And when you got Tim Brown running by himself, there has to be a miscue in the secondary.
He needs only 1 more catch now to overtake Fred Biletnikoff as the all-time reception leader here with the Oakland Raiders. 3rd and short. Can they negotiate 2? They couldn't their last possession. Kaufman, he's got the first down. Breaking tackles into the secondary. Bumped out by Travis Davis as he got away from Chris Hudson on the sideline. Quick to the boundary, Jim.
Well, that's one thing that you look at a play like this. When you bring a guy in motion coming down, what they're supposed to do, as you saw right there, crack back. And then you got a good lead block outside. We used to run it with Steve Tasker, a little guy coming down and being able to flick at to Thurman Thomas. And when you have speed like Kaufman getting outside, that play can only be a positive one.
His 3rd carry of the day. Let's see if this is the play for Tim Brown. Working against Dave Thomas, bottom of your screen. George has time going the opposite way for James Jeff. And keeping up with him, Dion Figures. So plenty of focus on Brown, so they go the opposite way.
We talk about his speed and talk about his touch on. Look at the cushion right here. I mean, that much room. That's a lot of room. That shows respect. I mean, you'd think cushion is about 6 or 7 yards. That was almost 10 yards. And right there, James Jett, just a little bit out of his reach.
Three wide receiver formation. Run it with Kaufman. Leading the man in the backfield. And Chris Hudson jumps on his back at the 45-yard line after a gain of about 5.
Brought down by Chris Hudson.
Well, offensively, they've been able to move the football, whether it's you know, to Tim Brown, Jett, Dudley, which is coming on, and Bugle said he's very happy with the production. I mean, he started out a little slow, but it was able to come on. But offensively, they've been able to move the football. Now what they got to do is be able to put it inside the red area and put it into the end zone, not rely on a lot of field goals.
Second half of the season, Jeff George alluded to it yesterday. They really stumbled. They've been a good 20-20 team. They have not been a great team in the red zone. 3rd and 5. Pocket holds up. There's Tim Brown, and there's the catch he was looking for. He is now the all-time reception leader in Oakland Raiders history. He has just surpassed the totals of that gentleman, Fred Biletnikoff. And Jim, as you know, they've had some phenomenal wide receivers wearing the Raiders uniform.
Well, they have, and I'll put it this way. Everybody in the National Football League, every quarterback would love to have number 81 on their football team. A leader in the dressing room, a quality person off the field, and probably one of the best receivers of all time, Tim Brown.
Another look back at the record setter.
And he's best when he's able to move, but just the route that he runs just goes to show that Tim Brown just doesn't have the great speed, but he runs routes to perfection.
590 receptions. Former Heisman
impressive.
Trophy winner in 1987 in his 10th year from Notre Dame. First down from the 25. Pocket, great protection. There's Jett inside the 5, losing it in the end zone, and Hudson's got it for Jacksonville. The ball scraped away by the big hit of strong safety Travis Davis. So Jett loses the handle, and Hudson, always around the ball, comes up with it. A break for the Jaguars as the Raiders fail to capitalize, close to the red zone once again.
Bill, you forgot the receiver.
End zone, yeah, everybody wants to make it in there and get 6 points. Got to wrap that ball up.
1st and 10 Jaguars. Stewart into the secondary. Huge yardage on first down from the 20 across the midfield stripe. Forced out by James Trapp. All the way up to the 46-yard line. A gain of 34, just about 34. And working to the left side where they're patched up a little bit on the offensive line.
Well, you talk about, or so many things have been said about Tony Baselli, but they're used to running to the left side. They're not going to go the other way just because Ben Coleman's in there. He's an excellent player too. Not a Tony Baselli, but still, as you saw right there, a big hole.
Up-tempo offense, that's a key for the Jaguars. Means nothing available up the middle, a yard at the most. But Tom Coughlin said, I want a sense of urgency. I want him to come up to the line with plenty of time on the play for adjustments, audibles, whatever they need, and a lot of rhythm.
And you can tell they're jumping right back into the huddle. They're getting the play call. They're getting up the line of scrimmage. Right now, there's 25 seconds still in the play clock, and they're already up on the ball.
What a start for the New York Jets. Tony Baselli missed the game that he could have played today. Tom Coughlin said, we'll probably sit him down. We'll make a determination, and they did in the locker room earlier. Brunell. Good protection. And he's got a first down. Taking it in and taking a shot inside 35. Keenan McCardell, he hangs on to everything in his neighborhood. And Brunell really appreciates the recognition and communication.
Oh, there's no doubt. Everybody does that. And when Keenan McCardell, one thing that the receivers are taught, once the quarterback gets outside the pocket, do whatever you have to stay as close to the sideline, catch the football. He made the defensive back think he was going deep. He snaps it off, brings it back. Excellent job.
First down to the Oakland 33. Nice adjustment by Natron Meads, bouncing his way inside the 30 to the 26.
Down by James Trapp.
So to get back into that huddle quickly, we've been talking about the up-tempo, new rhythm that Tom Coughlin wants. He wants that focus, and he always gets his message across, doesn't he?
Oh, he does. And usually he's a break the huddle, about 15 seconds left. They already were up about 24, 25 seconds. Now he's got plenty of time if he needs to audible to do that.
Second and short after the good run by Means. Pressure. A wide open tight end. Jones to the 20, to the 10. Touchdown Jacksonville. They didn't account for the rookie from Southern Illinois. Not a bad play fake, Mark.
What a play. I mean, Brunell rolls a little bit to his left side and comes back, and there's nobody. I mean, nobody even close to him. He probably, what happens on this, he falls down. He probably falls down, and he pretends like he's totally out of play. This is something we used to do with Pete Metzlars. A little screen, little trick play, but majority of the time it works if you're not focused on what you're supposed to be doing.
Mike Collis, who leads the NFL in scoring, in for another after. He'd like to have threes. He'll take Singleton Palmer's, though. And it's a 14-0 lead. Jacksonville Jaguars.
AT&T, it's all within your reach. Presents, it's my game.
Okay, forecast for Miami. Torrential rain, poor visibility, and gale force winds for Dan Marino. More sloshing than slashing for Irving Spikes. Hey, when wet, go long. Look for O.J. McDuffie to reach high into the atmosphere, pulling balls out of that tropical depression. The barometer drops, the Dolphins soar. That's it for weather, and now to sports.
2 hours? All right, we'll be waiting. What are you gonna miss in school today?
Nothing. What are you gonna miss?
You wanna see?
Weather outside is frightful.
Daddy, you got email.
If I did, then I gotta get some foots out. You wanna help me? Hey, you faxed it.
Let it snow.
We're still working so much later.
New PocketNet service, only from AT&T.
Oh, this head cold. I'm so clogged up, I just can't focus.
You okay? Get new Tavastine caplets. Just one word.
Got a good coach, Pete Mitchell. One of the best ends in the NFL. Desmond Howard will bring it back from the 4. And a lane for Howard. Past the 30. Flag on the play as Mike Hollis, textbook style to the 45, says, try this high hurdle.
15, and that hurts. It totally changes what offensive philosophy that you do have going out.
It's all the way back to the 12-yard line. Kaufman slowed down to the backfield by Lagerman. Also there, the defensive end, Tony Brackens, who's getting better penetration.
He's still a dominant player. He keeps coming. He's a 100% football player. Loves to play the game and really emphasizes working out in the offseason.
The screen for Kaufman. Breaking tackles but can't get away and barely hangs on. At the 15, taking some serious shots. Brackens cleaning up along with Jose White.
Jose White. Chris Hudson with the stop for Jacksonville.
And Tom Coughlin telling us about Tony Brackens, that he amazes him each and every week that he comes out. I mean, during practice, he's hobbling, he's hurting. But when game time comes, he's like, oh, man, it's almost like nothing's even wrong.
High ankle sprains have really plagued the Jacksonville Jaguars this year. Muselli is out today. Very same reason. So now 3rd and long for the Raiders. Back at their own 15.
Here they come with the blitz.
George in trouble and on his way down, back at the 6. Came out of the secondary from the strong safety, Travis Davis. Jaguars are on a roll early today.
7
and on both sides of the ball, partner.
Well, you see what they do.
Barlow is 4th in the AFC with a 12-yard average on punt returns. And a returnable one if he can get 2 at a low-line drive. He'll stay away, though. Play it safe. Plus territory coming up for the Jacksonville Jaguars. The short fields will get it inside the 45 near the 44.
They go for some defensive help.
They need to rebuild there. Certain age on the secondary positions as well as Brunell throws it in the direction of his tight end.
Up and bring him on.
On to the second incompletion for Mark Brunell. Now 6 of 8 for 109 yards. on the delay. Stewart weaving his way down to the 40. Short pickup, got 4. He was tripped up by Russell Maryland.
There's a lot of
by 14. Over the Denver Broncos. So much at stake for Jacksonville with a win today and a loss by Denver. They would host next week the AFC first-round wild card game. Joel Myers along with Jim Kelly back at the Oakland Coliseum. Brunell has his man again. Inside the 10. Just taken away from Jimmy Smith at the 5. Perry Carter, the defensive back, catching up a little bit over the last couple of yards. But almost another beauty on the deep ball.
Oh, it is. And Perry Carter does a good job of staying with them. But Jimmy Smith is going to use his hands to get him around him. And again, the ball is perfectly thrown exactly where it's supposed to be. Outside. And I think Jimmy Smith just really pretty much didn't really know where the football was going to fall. And when you do that, when you're running, trying to look over your head, that's a tough catch.
Desmond Howard waiting for the punt from the vet in the NFL. Brian Barker is trying to find the corner. Did he, though? No. It'll be a touchback. Barker on top of the end. I think Lockup would be overloaded. Raiders get it now at their own 20. Their 4th offensive series as they're on the short end, 14-0. And Kaufman did not get out of the backfield. So many negative starts for Napoleon Kaufman out of the backfield. He tries to always make something happen. As many negative rushes this year as anybody in the NFL. When I say that, I mean losses, stop behind the line.
And then sometimes those type of running backs that feel that they have the quickness to make it. Barry Sanders, I mean, I know how many times he's made cuts and got losses, but they're so quick and have so much confidence in their ability that they'll do that.
6 carries, 24 yards now for Kaufman. They show the blitz from the linebacker. George going the other way. Tim Brown right on target for another first down. And with that catch, Tim Brown now has overtaken Todd Christensen for the single season reception record for the Oakland Raiders. He's got 96 on the season.
Records
had 95.
after records, I know. Tim Brown's one of the smartest receivers. He doesn't take a hit that he does. I mean, you look at a guy coming there, he just goes right down. He takes one anyways right in the back. But Tim Brown knows when he's going to get hit, he's going to either run out of bounds or go down.
His 6th catch of the afternoon. Kaufman belted in a hurry. Right at the 31 where he started by Eddie Robinson. Be a half a yard at the most.
Eddie Robinson with the tackle.
So they've shut down the running game after an early sprint for Nap Kaufman.
You talk about Eddie Robinson. I mean, he's had 10 or more tackles in 16 games last year. And this is a guy that he's always around the football. Just a heck of a player.
And when he went to Alabama State, he went on an academic scholarship. He walked on to the football team. He's in his 6th year.
You always see defensive guys point. It was him, this guy right here. Don't worry, the official's going to let you know.
27, offense. Still second down.
Well, he's got Johnny Greer telling him. He's got all the defensive linemen pointing at him. That's the only thing bad about an offensive lineman. As soon as they do something wrong, everybody knows it.
Been a tough stretch over the last 4 to 5 games for not only Pat Harlow on the left side, but Lincoln Kennedy. Kennedy on the right side in his 5th year out of Washington. 2nd and 15, back at the 26. Good protection. Jim Brown again, catch number 7. Little pitch and catch for these two as he settles in at the 34 in front of Deion Figures.
I mean, you're going to get as much cushion as you need. I mean, look at this. That's almost 10 yards. He does come up to a certain point, but Tim Brown's a very smart receiver. He's going to find a hole. Jeff George knows exactly where he's going to be, and they're going to put the football right there. But that's inside the 20, from 20 to 20. They need to put the ball in the end zone.
They lost the ball in a fumble inside the 5. He joins us a little bit late. Now 3rd and long. George with time. James Jett this time. And Jett hangs on. Should have enough. Close to the 42 for the first down. Aaron Beasley on the coverage and the stop along with Ed Robinson.
Well, James Jett knew he was going to get hit. He knew where the first down marker was. He sacrificed his body. He says, hey, I got to get this one for the team. And you know, some players won't do that. They'll try to do the jitterbug, try to make a big play. But the smartest thing to do right there is exactly what he did. Put his head down and get as much yards as he can and get that first down. Heads up play.
Inside of 11.5 minutes left in the opening half, a 14-0 lead for the Jacksonville Jaguars. And a first down for the Raiders, their own 42. Again, the pocket holding up well. Good footwork by George. Tim Brown wants it. He'll take it and pulls away for good yardage on first down to the midfield stripe. All the way to the 49. Pickup of 9 on first down.
Well, Tim Brown comes in motion. He comes underneath the crossing pattern. Jeff George forced from the pocket, but he's able to know exactly where all of his receivers are. You can see Tim Brown coming in motion, and he's going to let the linebackers get their depth. He's going to find the hole, and he moves with the quarterback, and he knows exactly where he has to be. But again, showing his speed right there, just outrunning the figures and the rest of the guys to the sideline and not taking another hit.
8 grabs for 81 already for 91 yards. We still have better than 10 minutes left in the half. Tim Hall, short yardage situation. Breaking tackles, has the first down. Took a shot at the end of the play on the chalk. No flag. Tim Hall in his first year out of Robert Morris, his 6th round pick last season.
All of his teammates right there on the sideline, so he didn't have anything to worry about.
And you don't want to let a guy from the secondary think he knocked you a little bit silly. At the 38, George uses a timeout. This was an area of contention last week in the loss by a point to the Seattle Seahawks. Mismanagement of the clock. And a couple of wasted timeouts. One in the first half and one very early in the second half. But the Raiders are moving the football with 10:03 left in the half. With a win today, an 11-5 record. The 500 mark away from home. They lead it by 14. And on 1st and 10, Nat Kaufman showing patience. Slides his way in from John Elway to Rod Smith. So plenty at stake for Tom Coughlin and his squad this afternoon. 2nd and 6 from the 34. Little play action. Who else? Tim Brown. He's got 10 grabs and he's got another first down to the 24.
Well, he's got a couple records. Why not go for another one?
10 yards.
The one thing he does, he knows exactly what type of defense you're going to play, whether it's man or zone. You see him coming across your screen, and he looks for the hole. As you can see, he's finding out where the defensive backs are, and he stops before he gets there. And that's what top receivers do. They don't run and stop right beside a defensive linebacker or a defensive back. They stop in holes, and they're able to come back to the football.
Under the first down, this drive has started back at the Oakland 20. More play action, and not enough time as Lageman was right in the face of Jeff George with the 2nd sack of the day for the Jaguars. Lincoln Kennedy lost it to the right tackle. The sack is all the way back to the 35. That's a big loss. Now on 2nd, about 20. The completion inside the 20. Tim Brown, catch number 11. The countdown continues. The free safety finally caught up with him, Chris Hudson.
Well, they're going to have to do something, whether it's double.
There's Dick Duran, the defensive coordinator. Only 2 wideouts to begin with. And Dudley, the tight end, in the lineup. They go with the 2-back set. Kaufman on 3rd and about 5. Jitter punches way for the first down. And a 1st and goal inside the 10, down to the 6. And the reason it up is it seems like you could isolate and double up on Tim Brown and pay a little more attention.
You might want to, but when you blitz like
at a 1st and goal outside of the 6. Levitt, the rookie out of Cornell. Can he turn the corner? No. But what a shot Deion Figures gave him inside the 5, turning them upside down to the 4. Side. George needs time. They've got him around the ankle. He throws it away. And will there be a flag from Johnny Greer? Yes. After deliberating, he looked around. A grounding call against Jeff George.
You hear booing, but that's exactly what it was. I mean,
Joe Bugle in 3 with 25 yards so far today. So wind kicks up at the backs of the Oakland Raiders now on 3rd and goal from the 15. Collapsing. George has time though. Back of the end zone, overshoots James Jett. This year at 12 of 21. He's missed his last 2 in a row, 3 out of his last 4. And this is going to be a 33-yard attempt out of the hold of Aragos. This time he nails it. First points of the day for the Oakland Raiders, but they stall after they had that 1st and goal from the 6. Still an 11-point lead for the Jaguars. To Reggie Barlow and Mike Logan. Barlow, their home runs. Ford really gets into this one, and Logan will stay about 5-6 yards into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. When we come back, Jacksonville will have it offensively for the 4th time today, leading by 11. Monday in the wild card. It's right here on NBC. What a start for the Jets, and also Mark Brunell and the Jacksonville Jaguars, leading 14-3 with 5:47 left in the first 30 minutes of play. Natron Means plugging his way across the 22-23. Big game for the Broncos today, with an update on that. All right, Greg, and the Jaguars right now up by 11. Love to host a game. They need help, though, from San Diego. As Natron Means on the dump off loses it at the end of the tackle. It looks like the Jags did come back up football, though, near the 28-yard line. It looked like the offensive lineman, Jeff Novak, covered it.
Well, Natron Means coming out of the backfield. Mark Brunell just looks downfield, and he pretty much knew he was just going to make sure the linebackers got their depth and just dump the ball off Natron Means. He doesn't want to force anything right now.
Lorenzo Lynch punched it out of there. Novak did cover it. 3rd and short, moving the pocket for Mark Brunell. Wide open, Keenan McCardell got away as the slot man. He's got it to the 45. Looked too easy.
Every time I see a quarterback sprinting out like that, it reminds me of the run and shoot. And any time that you're in the slot, you know you only need a couple yards. And Mark Brunell is the type of quarterback that loves to throw to his left side. And when he's got all those receivers, Jimmy Smith, Barlow, Jackson, and Keenan McCardell, hey, which one should I throw to?
First down from the 45. I like the up-tempo offense they're going with today. It's been very efficient. After the play fake, Brunell finds time and good yardage. Taken down in the open field by Terry McDaniel. They wanted to fumble, they won't get it. He gets 8 yards instead on the scamper.
Brought down by Terry McDaniel.
Our 10-minute ticker at NBC. Minnesota gaining an entry into the postseason, snapping a 5-game losing streak. Talked about the importance of the Jets game. Big win for Washington and Jeff Hostetler as well. But the Jets with a 10-0 lead, they are in with a victory over Detroit today, and then it's an elimination game tomorrow night between New England and Miami. The winner could be the winner of the AFC Eastern Division title. James Stewart, nothing available, a half a yard, wrapped up quickly by Rob Fredrickson.
We look what Kansas City did. It's going to be hard for any team to go into Arrowhead Stadium and beat the Chiefs. I know the Denver Broncos play there once every year. The Jaguars, as you saw the score, Denver up, will have to travel to Denver. And the Broncos are going to remember what happened last year, but also the Jaguars are going to be sitting there saying, hey, we've done it before, we can do it again.
Plenty of positives going into the postseason for Jacksonville. And Jacksonville coming up on 3rd and short.
Oakland.
Uses their first time out of the first half. We've got 3:02 left in the first 30 minutes of play. Great start continues for Tom Coughlin and the Jaguars. Means took from safety Lorenzo Lynch. Went over to the sideline, hurting, and then put an extra sleeve on that left elbow. Now, on 3rd and about a yard and a half, over the head of the wide receiver. He wanted Willie Jackson on the far side.
He did, but Mark Brunell really couldn't step into it the way he wanted to. He knew he was going to be rushed just a little bit. He just let that one sail over the head a little bit.
Check that. Keenan McCardell instead. 87 over the far sideline. And he was available.
Oh, he was. He was open, but Mark Brunell has done an excellent job finding his receivers, and that one was just a little bit too high.
Desmond Howard waiting outside of the 10. Brian Barker, his second punt of the day. And a beauty. Takes a Jacksonville hop. Stays inside the 10. Let's grab it right around the 9-yard line. So the Raiders in a hole. Getting it back offensively in an offense that has not been able to produce touchdowns. They've had a good, then they've had awful games. Ray Perkins, the offensive coordinator, question marks about why they lose it to Kansas City, a division opponent, 30-0.
I think it all stems back to some of the close games that they did have earlier in the season, losing a tight one in Kansas City, and just so many different things have happened to this team. I mean, you can always pinpoint and say the defense hasn't been playing well, but like Jeff George said earlier, the offense hasn't really been productive lately. Yeah, they moved the football, but right now, as you can see, the only way they've been able to move the football was getting in number 81's hands.
Tim Brown with 10 catches so far today. George with a flag on the play. Widely intended target, Dave Thomas on the coverage. Holding call, you would think, because it was thrown, yes, by Johnny Greer. Not much going right offensively for the Oakland Raiders in the first half, with the exception of those 10 grabs for Tim Brown. They're working on those tackles, Kennedy and Harlow regularly.
We're trying to figure out what they're going to do, and yeah, they have been working. You talk to Joe Bugle, very enthusiastic coach.
Holding, 72, offense. It's decline. Second down.
You automatically know that somebody was doing something wrong when before he even says who was holding. The guilty party starts saying, I wasn't holding. That pretty much tells you that he was doing something that he tried to hide.
Great job by the New York Jets defensively, updating you on the late games. A 10-0 lead, a little more than 3 minutes left at the Silverdome. On 2nd and 10, Kaufman dancing his way across the 20. Made a great adjustment out of the backfield for 11 yards to the 21.
Well, maybe what they need to do now is change the pace a little bit. I know they are huddling up right here. They have 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the half. They got the 2-minute warning. Jeff George, maybe put him up on the line of scrimmage, change the pace up a little bit.
Even when they're down there doesn't seem to be a sense of urgency.
No, it doesn't.
8 carries, 30 yards for Kaufman. We approach the 2-minute warning. George in trouble again, and the 3rd sack of the day for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Clyde Simmons owns this one. They have it around on the defensive front.
And Clyde Simmons, even last week, 5 tackles, a forced fumble, 3 quarterback pressures. But Jeff George, you got to have time to throw the football.
The offensive frustrations continue for the Oakland Raiders, who had 5 catches last week. He's still looking for his first one today. 2nd year man, 1st round pick out of Ohio State, started his football career. It's very well documented. Basketball player for the Buckeyes, started his football career very late, at least at the college level. And now 2nd and long. George trying to set up the middle screen. Kaufman, they catch up with him in a hurry.
When I heard you say middle screen, I thought, okay, where's the offensive lineman? They were all on the outside, left side, and there Kaufman was in the middle and really had no blockers, so it just didn't work out the way they wanted it to.
We'll see him for the 4-11 Oakland Raiders in their matchup with the 10-5 Jacksonville Jaguars. Joel Myers along with Jim Kelly. Raiders 1 of 3 on 3rd down. Jeff George has been sacked 3 times already. And with 1:45 left in the half, it is 3rd and 13 for the Raiders outside of their own 18. George get time, yes. Grab number 11, produces the 1st down for Tim Brown of the Raiders. Collared by the strong safety Travis Davis.
And that was pretty much a timing pattern. Jeff George setting up, Tim Brown getting up on the defensive back, putting a move on him, and the ball being right there at his break.
Still a couple timeouts left for Jacksonville if they can get the ball back. Not exactly a hurry up. With time, Jeff George throws it wide of Ricky Dudley. He was covered well, but the strong safety Travis Davis hasn't really looked at Dudley all that often today.
No, he really hasn't. I mean, he's been throwing the ball to Tim Brown, but you see Dudley come off. Not anybody really very close to him, but Dudley throws it there, and it's excellent coverage. And one thing Jeff George might have wanted to do there, he knew he had 1-on-1 coverage on the outside. Guys giving a lot of cushion. And we talked maybe he needs to go to Dudley, but that time it was covered pretty well.
Dudley in his rookie season had a bad case of the drops, correcting that this year, but still last week even a drop touchdown to the end zone wide open. And now on 2nd and long, Kaufman out to the secondary. He's got a 1st down. Can he get to the sideline? Yes, that'll stop the clock. Dana Hall wanted him down inbounds. He won't get it.
That was close. I mean, he tried to get out of bounds, and I don't know, that was pretty close whether he did or not, but Kaufman has the ability to make the big play, and you can see right here, very close. I'd be arguing too to keep that clock rolling.
It's at the midfield stripe. Huge possession for the Oakland Raiders. They had a fumble inside the 5, had a 1st and goal to the 6, and had to settle for their only point of the day, a 33-yard field goal by Cole Ford. Heat coming on George. Slow him down and put him down. Back near the 40-yard line, Joel Schmengi, the first one, along with Ronaldo Wynn, helping to clean up. That is the 4th sack, partner.
Oh, we talk about putting pressure on the quarterback. They wanted to be able to do it without blitzing. That time, Schmengi coming up from the outside and Ronaldo Wynn doing their job and part of slowing Jeff George down and not letting him get into the rhythm.
Great penetration up front by Jose White. And Jacksonville stop it. Or will it be the Oakland Raiders? It'll be the Raiders stopping the clock after the loss back to the 39.
30-second timeout.
Don't forget, coming up at the half, Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC halftime report. Greg Gumbel, Joe Gibbs, Chris Collinsworth, and Sam Walsh updating you on the playoff picture. Matchup with the New York Jets. Second half of our doubleheader on NBC. Going on right now at the Silverdome in Pontiac.
For information on hiring the
George is really frustrated right now as he moved over to the sideline to talk to his coaches.
You can imagine why. Why run a draw play when you got receivers like Jet on the outside and Tim Brown? He's frustrated. I don't think it's real smart play calling because you need to go 60 yards to get a touchdown. You need at least 40 to get in field goal range. And when you only have 36 seconds on the clock, I guess I'd be a little frustrated too.
They go to a 3-wide receiver alignment as Truitt comes into the game. 3rd and 21. On the short toss, it's complete to Truitt, his first grab of the day. And will Jacksonville stop it now? Yes. They'll use their second timeout. Tackle made by Deion Figures. So Aragoose ready to punt for the Raiders. The fans that are here that have been diehards for the Raiders this year upset with what has developed.
I don't know if I would have called a timeout being Jacksonville. I don't know really the reasoning behind it, because if they do punt the ball away, they're going to have bad field position, and you pretty much will down unless they're thinking about going after the Raiders and try to block this kick.
One timeout left for the Jaguars. They do have a home run threat. Don't forget Reggie Barlow. He's already brought back a kickoff return for a score this year. He's 4th in the AFC, 12-yard average on punt returns. And they get to Aragoose. They were trying. The fair catch called for. Barlow's got it to 10. Behind the play. Little extracurricular activity.
Hey, it's the game of football. You got to have a little pushing and shoving. That's what it's all about. You got to get a little bit.
30 yards. Most of the 130, they'll come in the first 15 minutes of play.
What if it's going to be a draw? Hail Mary. Let me see.
Underneath, Jimmy Smith pays for that reception. James Trapp wrapping him up.
I don't really understand what they're doing here, because you take a chance of the quarterback fumbling the ball, an interception, a receiver getting hit and fumbling it, and all of a sudden giving life back to the Oakland Raiders. I think that's the smartest thing to do. Let the clock roll out. Let them go in the locker room with a lead, 14-3.
It's halftime in Oakland. 11-point lead for the Jaguars. Let's head to the studio now with Greg Gumbel and company. Almost identical in total net yards offensively. The Jaguars did capitalize when they had the opportunities. The Raiders squandered theirs as Barlow waits for the kickoff from Ford. And he'll stay in the end zone with the urging of Mike Logan. So an important early drive the second half for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They didn't score a point in the second quarter.
The ball down the field, score some points, but all of a sudden they get a little conservative, and what they need to do is just open it up and let Burnell do its thing.
Means, despite the on the elbow, stays in the game to start the second half, lunging across the 22 near the 23, wrapped up by James Trapp. Big problem for the Oakland Raiders, and we were talking about it yesterday. Their top 2 tacklers are members of the secondary.
Oh, when you have that, that just goes to tell you that a lot of the other guys aren't doing their job up front. And that's probably one of the main things that the Raiders are going to have to work at. Make sure that, your safeties and your strong safety and free safety are not making most of the tackles.
Turner, who you just saw, Trapp, are on top of the tackle department. Underneath, James Stewart doing a good job to slide away from Fredrickson momentarily before he's chopped down by Beekert. Just short of the first down.
And you talked about Trapp and Turner leading it.
Damon Shelton in the 2 tight end set. Means, forget it. Never known for his vertical. Means not exactly looking like Marcus Allen on that play. Loss of a yard. Rob Fredrickson with a good penetration.
Well, Greg Beaker and everybody coming up the middle and really forcing Natron Means to do that, because the defensive line of the Raiders were back in the backfield. So an excellent job by the front four at that time.
So a stop by the Raiders. And that is the first 3-and-out series for the Jacksonville Jaguars today. They've got to be concerned after what happened with the Buffalo Bills last week when they did not put away an opponent they had down early.
Well, they made some mistakes, some penalties, but more than anything is they felt comfortable with that lead and really didn't press as much as they probably should have.
They got after Barker, and he couldn't handle the pressure. He went off the side of his foot. The NFL leader, who's going to the Pro Bowl for the first time in his career, knocks it out of bounds near the 45. Jim Brown surpassing a couple of milestones. The opportunity is there now for Napoleon Kaufman as well. 68 yards in the first half. He needs 74 to move into second place on the single season rushing list. Slowed down in the backfield, barely got back to the line, a yard to the 46. Simmons and Brackens all over the situation, pinching in on Kaufman. He would surpass the totals of Mark Van Egan. His numbers that Van Egan put together back in 1977.
1 yard pickup. Second and 9 from the 46.
So away from accomplishing that. Tim Brown already passed Fred Biletnikoff's all-time reception leader in Oakland Raider history. George finding some time and finding his favorite target again. Tim Brown. He's got a first down inside the 45 of Jacksonville to the 44. Put down by Brian Schwartz.
Brian Schwartz with the tackle.
Well, again, you see Tim Brown being able to hook up inside the zone, and they're pretty much going to try to play him zone coverage. You see the linebacker moving in, and on the outside it's a deep zone by Figures there. But Tim Brown stops knowing that he has a lot of cushion, and really nobody even close to him. Give him the football, let him get the first down.
And he settles down where he knows he's got the first down, the necessary yardage. First and 10. George in trouble. Hit as he releases it. Brown's there again. Just in time. Nice moves inside the 30 to the 28 by Tim Brown. And George took a pounding at the end of that play. Kevin Hardy on top of the quarterback. 17 yards on the game.
It almost looks like the Jaguars do not have confidence in their defensive backs that they can cover Tim Brown one-on-one, because they're playing a lot of zone coverage, allowing Tim Brown to find some holes in the seams, and Jeff George is finding them.
Detroit's the final play of the first half, a 44-yard field goal by Jason Hanson. And now Nap Kaufman up the middle. He has just moved into the record books again in Oakland Raider history. He has surpassed the totals of Mark Van Egan back in 1977 and now is second on the single season rushing list.
Behind
from the 20.
The incredible Marcus Allen.
And he is. I can't believe that guy is still playing the game of football. That's just amazing. It amazes me that a running back, I mean, you could talk about quarterbacks, but Marcus Allen continuing to be productive.
And he won't catch Marcus.
No.
Knapp now with 12.78. Marcus had 17.59 back in 1985. Second and short. Quick one on the audible. And right through the hands of Tim Brown. Almost disastrous if Dave Thomas is right behind Brown off to that side.
I was just going to say that because that came right off Tim Brown's hands and almost in Dave Thomas's arms. But Jeff George audibles right here. He sees the cushion they're giving Tim Brown. But again, number 81 running a little bit before he had the football.
Brown already with a career best 13 grabs today. So now third and Kaufman, will he get there? I believe he did by a yard. Inside the 18 down to the 17. First and 10. Robinson, Loggeman combining for that stop. Great field to start the drive, though, for the Oakland Raiders, presenting so many options for Jeff George and his offensive unit, because they did start it after only a 26-yard punt by Brian Barker at their own 45-yard line.
Well, that's what they need. They need to do is mix it up, and they have been doing it. Just keeping the Jaguars balanced, mixing the run with the pass.
Kaufman slowly out of the backfield. Can he reverse his field? positive when it looked like it was going to be a negative. He takes it for 3 now to the 14. Robinson stayed at home, though, the linebacker.
Well, one thing Kaufman did right there, it showed his poise. He could have tried to outrun 3 of the guys to the outside, but no, he decides to run north and south. And right here you can see being led out there, and Bracken's chasing him down, but he turns upfield. He knew he had a blocker in front of him, but he decides to turn it up and get 2-3 yards.
84 on 16. Only 36 on 16 carries last week. Levitt bangs it up the middle on 2nd and long. Not much available.
Well, this is where they were last time, and they totally forgot about number 81, Tim Brown. He already has 13 catches. He brings the team down this far, and then you don't look at him. What they need to do is find a way to get Tim Brown the football right now.
Makes you wonder about play selection.
Exactly.
And you talked about that in the first half, and Jeff George came over to the sideline, was real frustrated on a 2nd and long where they went to the draw play again.
That's like asking a running back to rush the ball 60, 70 yards on the drive. You get down to the 2-yard line, you take him out.
6. Over the middle, James Jett. Did he get the first down? Looks like he got a great spot. He was right at the 7. Jaguars really upset their safeties Hudson and Davis. Will have the first down at the 6. 1st and goal. Raiders are familiar with this position, though. Been there before.
Well, again, the key is they're only rushing 4 guys. They don't come with a blitz. They put a zone defense in there, and pretty much James Jett is doing what Tim Brown was doing. Just find the crease, find the zone where there's a hole there, and just sitting down inside there, and Jeff George is finding them.
And you could see from that mark, he did get a great spot. He gave up a yard, trying to curl it to the outside. They knocked him down to the 7. They spotted him to the 6. 1st and goal. Second time it's been 1st and goal to the 6 for the Raiders. The toss sweep. Kaufman, after good penetration, what a nifty move. Back against the grain to take it close to the 3 before he's tripped up by Brian Schwartz. It's all individual, isn't it, Jim?
Well, right there it is. I mean, he got the pitch to the outside. He really didn't have much, and he turns it upfield, trying to make something positive out of a negative. It's really being able to get up there and do pretty much that all by himself.
And if you're Dick Duran, the defensive coordinator of the Jacksonville Jaguars, you have to feel like you cut him off at the pass. You played it pretty efficiently.
Yeah, but he's got a quick scat back like Kaufman. He can get you that couple when you need it.
2nd and goal from outside the 3. The blitz is coming. Over the middle, it's dropped. Jerome Davison had the touchdown. And there is a flag. Personal foul. They got to George a little bit tardy. There was Kevin Hardy. And a fresh set of downs coming up for the Oakland Raiders.
And Hardy's right there in Johnny Greer's face, wondering, I didn't hit him late. I didn't hit him late.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Number 51. Defense. 1st down.
Let's see if he led with the helmet.
Well, if he did, I'm sure he's going to be talked to him. A few players, but that's one thing you can't do. You cannot hit, it doesn't matter who it is, in the helmet. And I'm sure Kevin Hardy didn't mean to do that, but when a hand is to the face and almost through the face mask, you're going to get that penalty every time.
That is the first penalty of the day against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Levitt behind Davison in the eye. George back of the end zone. Dudley, touchdown Oakland. The Raiders finally make it into the end zone for the first time this afternoon. And down by 5. You'd have to think they're going to go for a 2-point conversion.
They were wondering when Dudley was going to get the football, and a perfect timing. And when you do run that type of play, you put 2 guys out into the flat, one on the upper level, the other one pretty much trying to keep the linebacker close to him and throw it to a big guy like Dudley, 6', 250 pounds.
7th touchdown reception. The Raiders 2 for 5 so far on their 2-point tries. Looking into the direction of the other tight end and batted away, and it was actually Levitt. The running back, Eddie Robinson, perfect timing with the hand on the ball. So still a 5-point lead for the Jacksonville Jaguars with 7:06 left in the 3rd quarter.
Here on the right side of your screen, And when Jeff George goes back to pass a little play action fake, I think the running back might have went the wrong way. But he does an excellent job getting rid of the football before Brackens gets in his face. And, of course, Dudley being that big target, that's pretty easy.
You've got to find Dudley, though, and he was absent in the first 30 minutes of play. 11 plays, better than 6 minutes on the drive. Tim Brown has 13 grabs. Ricky Dudley just becoming a part of the offense now here in the second half. And with the wind at his back, Cole 3 yards deep. Reggie Barlow won't make it to the 20. Jerome Davison downfield. Good coverage on the special teams. Jacksonville for the second time will have it offensively when we return. IBM to produce the game's official website. Get a sneak peek of our plans for San Diego as well as a complete playoff analysis. All on the internet, superbowl.com. 1st and 10 Jacksonville. And Brunell is going to call an audible. He's still got plenty of time on the play clock. James Stewart crashing his way across the 20. Brought down by Darrell Russell, the rookie from USC, who we've not called all that often today. 2nd overall selection in the draft process.
I think Mark Brunell saw what the defense of the was doing. They thought, or I should say Mark Brunell thought that they were going to come in with a blitz, and he knew that the strength of their defense was on the right side, so he audible to a run. Didn't get many yards, maybe 3.5 yards, but didn't take the big chance there.
Call it 2nd and 6. Pocket holds up for Brunell. Now it collapses, and he goes down. First sack of the day for the Raiders belongs to Russell, Maryland. Offensive problems continue for Jacksonville after that great start.
Well, number one, they started being conservative. Number two is you're pretty much telling the defense when you're going to go back and throw the football. And right here, just a good job by Russell, Maryland, getting by the offensive line and putting pressure on Brunell. Going to be running those 18, 19-yard comebacks and curls. You're going to need that extra time.
4.5 sacks on the year now for Maryland. 3rd and 15. Movement right side of the offensive line, lifted up. Dead ball foul coming up against the Jaguars to compound the problem.
Number 76, offense.
Get the ball out to the about 15-yard line. Give the punter a little room.
Brunell out of the shotgun. 3 wide receiver formation from his own end. Scrambles away from pressure and loses the football. A break for the Jaguars as he was going in the direction of James Stewart. Andre Bruce with a great pressure on the quarterback.
Well, I don't know. That was close. And Mark Brunell is just lucky that Bruce didn't get there a little sooner, because if he does, this is a fumble, and this could totally turn the tide of the game. But Brunell doing an excellent job of just getting rid of the football.
Very fortunate that he got rid of it, and it wasn't a fumble as Barker from his own end zone wobbles out a low one. Howard stays away from it. It takes a Jaguar roll. They got a break that time. And now a flag at the end of the play with the ball covered at the 49-yard line. And more flags coming in late.
Late. I just saw yellow flags after yellow flags flying. I don't know.
They weren't Christmas greetings.
That's for sure.
It's the first time this crowd has ever even made some noise today. There aren't many here at the Oakland Coliseum to begin with. It's a 14-9 lead for Jacksonville. So they give the ball right back to Oakland. Came after the ball had been covered.
We have 2 fouls on the play. Personal foul, number 57, Jacksonville, will be declined. Illegal blocking back. 47 of the Raiders will be accepted, and they retain the ball. First down.
So the call going against Oakland, but still solid field position for the Raiders when we come back. Pressure's on the defensive unit now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, because the offensive unit has gone to sleep over their last 4 possessions. Updating you on other scores. Our 10-minute ticker. And some big games late today. Huge win for the Redskins. Monster win for the Minnesota Vikings. Kansas City just cleaning up some work, getting ready for a bye. Jeff gets to 500 with his squad. And the Raiders get it back at their own 38-yard line. Only down by 5 all day long for Jeff George. Underneath, it's Snap Kaufman. Dancing on the sideline and knocked out at the 42 by the free safety, Chris Hudson. George now 21 of 31. For almost 220 yards and completions. And it looked like it was going to be those kind of numbers for Mark Brunell. The Jaguar offense has been dormant since early in the first quarter. The Lions coming up with another field goal in that huge matchup. 10-6 Jets. Jason Hansen with his second field goal of the day. 2 from 44 and 25 yards away. And that is going to be an incredible battle down the stretch in Pontiac. George on the play fake. Little pop pass. Kaufman can't hang on. And his quarterback certainly paid for it with Lockman crashing in on him and Clyde Simmons as well.
Well, Jeff George is getting up slow, and it's one of those screens where, you know, as a quarterback, you're going to get hit, but you try to get rid of the football before those guys get there. And Lockman pretty much burying Jeff George. And when you come down with the weight on the quarterback, you know you're going to feel all 260 pounds.
And you say you want to come back? After watching Jeff George get planted into the turf here?
Jeff George, Brunell the last time. Yeah, big if.
4:43 remaining in the third. A 3rd and 7. George over the middle. The tight end Dudley can't hang on. He got a first down to the 45. So ball going back to the Jaguars, and the Oakland Raiders wasting great field position.
Well, they did. Somebody's got to come up with a play. Right there, it was a low pass, but Dudley, tight end, being that big, it was a little bit hard for him to bend over, I guess, that far and catch it. But that's a ball at majority of time, the tight end's going to make that catch.
Leo Araguz punting it back to Reggie Barlow. Barlow waiting outside of the 15. Has not been able to really break one today. Araguz bringing down the high snap and sends out beauty. With the wind at his back, Barlow from the 6. No blocking out in front. He pays. He's only to the 7-yard line, so a hole once again offensively for the Jaguars when we come back in a tight affair with 4.5 minutes left in the third. You're watching the NFL on NBC. Welcome back to Oakland. Joel Myers along with Jim Kelly. 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. Very quiet second and now beginning of the third quarter for Mark Brunell. He's thrown for 140 yards and a couple of touchdowns. Most of it came in the first 12-minute play. First down from his 6. But he gets some breathing room. He'll do it on his own across the 10, sliding down near a first down. They'll put him down just across the 15. He'll be short of the first down by a yard. But Brunell last week threw for 317 yards. All of a sudden, that offense has been shut down completely.
They are, and they did it last week, too, because I did the ball game where they get up on a team and they sort of sputter a little bit. They start getting a little conservative. I like what they did right there. At least he dropped back, and you see Gunther Cunningham here. And the thing about it is you have to be able to mix it up, keep these guys off balance.
On the carry, Means carrying tacklers with him across the 25 and the 27. Finally knocked down by Eric Turner.
And we talked about how much Natron Means is going to mean to this ball club, especially in the late games last week, this week, and into the playoffs. And he only has, I think, 42 yards on 9 carries. And what Natron Means has to do is he has to start producing, not only him, but the whole running game.
More and more is it's a huge lead for the Denver Broncos, and with the Jacksonville Jaguars on the road next week at Denver. First round wild card game. Brunell with pocket holding up finally, finding Keenan McCardell. He takes it up to the 35. It's about 8 on first down. Coverage provided by Terry McDaniel. And McCardell, another one in the first quarter, who had a great start over the first 2 drives, but hasn't been heard from since. 5 catches today for McCardell, so over the last 6 games, he's got 43 receptions. What a finish. Second and short, and they won't get the first down with Means.
And we
from the tackle spot. Now, can they pick up a little less than 2 on third down? Brunell could run for it, and he finally will. After looking downfield, he'll take the down on his own. The added dimension. Told us earlier this year he didn't want to lead the NFL quarterbacks in rushing. So now first down across the 44. Buying some time with the play fake all day. Throwing the deep ball for Jimmy Smith, and it's back away. The safety coming over, Eric Turner, to help out the corner.
Well, Mark,
very election. What a story for somebody who was out of football in '94 after being cut by the Eagles. The dump off. Stewart making a miss. Does it again, and he's got the first down. Knocking down the defensive back, Barry Carter. Do you think that juiced up his sideline a little bit?
Just a little bit, and you love seeing a guy get excited like that.
Talked with James Stewart. I said to him yesterday, what about the screen? It hasn't been there. He goes, whenever I walk onto the field, defenses now, they scream. They're always looking for it. Plenty of time to find Jimmy Smith, Mark Brunell, and all of a sudden, the offense finding a rhythm again for the
single time. And again, as I look out there now, a good 8-9 yard cushion.
Almost 10 on that far side. They'll take it again right after it. Jimmy Smith, first down to the 11. He had to be about 10 yards off the wide receiver.
He was. I look back out there, and I don't know what they're thinking about, but Joe Bugle's got to think, what are these guys doing? Look at this. There's probably, see, it's at least 10 yards off, maybe 11 yards off the ball when he's backpedaling beforehand. And if I see that, and we talked about Mark Brunell wanting to get that tempo going a little quicker, he's able to audible. He's able to do those type of things when you have extra time.
That'll be the final play of the third quarter, and a strong finish the third quarter for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They've got it 1st and 10 at the Oakland 11 when we come back, leading by 5. Come right back. Brunell and the Jacksonville Jaguars are looking for their first points of the second half. They've got it 1st and 10 at the 11 of Oakland. Drive started all the way back at their own 6-yard line.
And Brunell's checking off. You might see the outside and hand off to Natron Means.
Means breaking through inside the 5 all the way down to the 3, hanging onto the ball as they tried to take it away with Terry McDaniel wrapping up the running back. A couple of field goals by Hansen, final play of the half, and early in the third cut that deficit down to 4. We've been told that Barry Sanders is basically under 30 yards. The last update we had midway through the third quarter, so Bill Parcells' defensive unit really getting the job done at the Silverdome on the turf in Pontiac. 2nd and short, 2nd and a couple. Outside of the 3 for Brunell. Stewart up the middle. And it looked like they almost got him around the face mask. Chester McLaughlin had him low. Russell hanging on, almost had the cage. And
you know James Stewart knows where the end zone is. He had to pay the price, getting a couple good licks in by the Raiders linebackers. And when you have a lead draw like that, you know that really a lead draw in that situation, you know they're not going to go back and throw the football. So why not just have them come straight at you?
They'll have a measure now before the 12th play of this drive to see if it's going to be 1st and goal or 3rd and short. And one of the real strong suits for the Jacksonville Jaguars, we frequently talk about Mark Brunell and all the touchdown passes, but the touchdowns on the ground. 8 for James Stewart, we just saw. 9 on the ground this year for the other running back, Natron Means. Tag on a couple of more on the ground for Mark Brunell. That's one of their strong suits.
Oh, it is, and you got to realize once you get down to this 5-yard line, when you have backs like Stewart and Natron Means, receivers that can get open, they have all weapons. So defense really can't key on one particular part of the offense. They have all those weapons. Who knows who Mark Brunell is going to this time?
It is 3rd and less than a yard. They get the first down just inside the 1. Means, can he get to the marker? Great penetration. Chester McLaughlin, when he shows up, he's one of the best tackles in the game. Great penetration, partner.
And at times you almost would want for, if you need less than a yard, just quarterback sneak it, but they have so much confidence in Natron Means that he's going to go in there and get at least 1 yard. And I know many times we've been mad as quarterbacks, people on the sidelines, he cannot get a half a yard, but that time McLaughlin doing a good job getting through the line and tackle Natron Means before the first down.
Now Mike Hollis looking for his 30th field goal of the year, a 20-yard attempt. It's perfect. That ties his single season record that he set last year for the Jaguars, and a more comfortable cushion of 8 points now for Jacksonville. It's a 13-play, 92-yard drive for the Jacksonville Jaguars. They could not pick up less than a yard, though, and they got it down just outside of the 1. They had to settle for a 20-yard Mike Hollis field goal. It's an 8-point lead, though, for the Jaguars. Still a one-score game on the positive side for the Oakland Raiders. Joel Myers along with Jim Kelly back in Oakland. Desmond Howard very quiet this season after he was a Super Bowl MVP. The last Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers. He's back there along with Tim Hall.
And again, it just goes to show that it's not just one person that makes up a team. Some great people that played with him in Green Bay that made him what he was last year. And I'm sure he's finding that out right now, that it's not always the scheme, it's the players.
Well, the Raiders have more first-round picks, and Howard coming over as a free agent this year. They had Larry Brown the previous year, the other Super Bowl MVP, who is not even active. He hasn't been active the second half of the season. They have 18 first-round picks on this squad.
And that's what Jeff George was so frustrated about. He says, on paper, everybody thinks that we should be, right there in contention, being for a Super Bowl title. But boy, that is frustrating knowing that you have that many players. And he said, maybe we're not quite as good as we think we are.
Stiff 25-mile-an-hour breeze behind Mike Hollis and a touchback. So the ball to the 20. Man tonight on Dateline.
Out-of-control football fans. One stadium's taking them on with a court, judge, and jail inside the stadium. It's happening. See how it's working. Dateline tonight. Then, the timeless classic for the whole family. Little Women after Dateline, NBC tonight.
Jeff George has thrown for 219 yards so far this afternoon. Well, the Raiders have only been able to get into the end zone once. Nap Kaufman struggles his way across the 20 for a couple of yards. After the 22. The clock working against the Oakland Raiders as well. 12.5 minutes left of the game, but they are going to be limited by possessions remaining for them. After Jacksonville did hang on to it for better than 90 yards the last time they touched the football.
Stats are pretty close. Oakland even has a 1-yard advance, 320 to 319. But the key stat is the one on the scoreboard. 17-9 Jags.
2nd and 8. Brown. First catch in quite some time. Close to the marker. That is his 14th to add to his career best. 14 grabs. The NFL best. If you're wondering, Tom Fears. Remember the old LA Rams?
Oh, yeah, I remember that, Joel.
You were there.
Yeah, I was there. I was in a big spirit. But 18 catches. That's unbelievable for one game. And Tehran already with 14. And the way that they're throwing to him today, he could easily catch that number.
Needs 4 more to tie the NFL top spot. Kaufman bolting through. He's got the first down on 3rd and short. Across the 35 to the 36. The safety's caught up with him, Hudson and Davis.
They're probably used to hearing their name called. Hudson, Davis, over 100 tackles each, like I mentioned earlier in the game. Wow, it's just hard for me to believe that safeties have that many tackles. I mean, maybe one you could see a strong safety, but both of them.
Jaguars defense has been a problem spot. They outscore people as they take care of Kaufman. No carry, but you talk about that defense. 22nd overall in the NFL, and we're talking about a team that, if they win today, will finish up at 11-5, but they are 23rd against the pass this year.
But once the season's over and you get into the playoffs, everybody's records are 0-0. Forget about all those stats because you start game planning for individuals and what they've been able to accomplish, and you change up somewhat.
All the final scores on the 10-minute ticker. 2nd and 10 now for the Raiders. Not designed. George will move the pocket and run it out of bounds and take a little shot at the end of the play from Tua Olo, who's got the start today due to the injury to Seth Payne, and he may have gotten away with one there. It looked like a flag was about to come out.
It was pretty close. Jeff George waited for Tim Brown to break away there, but Tim's pretty much being held up by Eddie Robinson. Hey, that was pretty close. I mean, he's going out of bounds. You know he's running out of bounds. Maybe he doesn't need to push him, but of course, anytime a defensive guy has a shot at the quarterback, he's going to take it.
Tua Olo has not been active every game this year. They've been banged up, especially at the tackle position on the front 4.
I was just going to say Jeff George is going to have to call a timeout because he only had 3 seconds, and the offensive line wasn't even down yet.
Offensively, the frustrations continue. Well, the timeout used, 8-point lead for the Jacksonville Jaguars, but a 3rd and long coming up for Jeff George and the Raiders. Very quiet second half despite 7 completions. 284 yards. Those two totals you saw belonging to Tim Brown. Dead ball foul coming up against the offensive unit. So 226 yards passing for Jeff George and 164 the 226 to Tim Brown.
Ball start prior to the snap. 81 offense. Still third down.
Tim Brown.
Well, it took so long for this play to develop, or should I say to begin to develop, and he was trying to get the defensive line to jump off because they have been putting pressure on Jeff George. And the easiest way to slow him down, change up the snap count. Sometimes you fool yourself.
And that comes after a timeout. They pick up a dead ball foul against the offense. 3rd and 18. Pocket holds up for George. Throws it wide of James Jett. The linebacker was on top of the situation, almost too much so, Eddie Robinson. He threw his hands up into the air like, believe me, I'm not guilty.
Believe me, I'm not guilty, or I'm guilty, but don't call anything. Right there, a little push earlier on down there. But one thing Robinson does not do, he doesn't look back for the football, but he doesn't have any contact, so that's not pass interference.
Aragoose ready to punt it away to Reggie Barlow. He is going to be hitting it into a stiff 25-mile-an-hour breeze. The wind knocks it down. Barlow with a fair catch. Cleanly from the 35. When we come back, the Jaguars will have the ball, but let's get an update with Greg Gumbel. Greg, by the Detroit Lions.
You knew it was just a matter of time before Barry Sanders was going to break one.
Barry Sanders so close to 2,000 yards. Brunell on first down from the 35, getting away from Andre Bruce. Keenan McCardell has such great communication with his quarterback to help him out and pick up 8 at the same time before he's knocked down by Greg Beaker.
Well, I think the key to not only the last possession but the start of this one is first downs. Mark Brunell has been throwing the ball. They haven't went back to the typical handoff left tackle on first down. They've been throwing the ball. They've been mixing it up and been doing an excellent job there.
Brings up 2nd and short. Now a 6-7 minute drive, and even a field goal could put the game away for the Jacksonville Jaguars, leading by 8. Means picks up the first down, barely tripped up by Russell Maryland.
It's kind of interesting by watching them last week and watching Mark Brunell once he gets up to the line of scrimmage. I've only seen him audible one time to a pass. So far today, every audible that he's had has been to the run. Last week against the Bills, the majority of the time, probably 90% of the time, his audibles have been to the run.
Once again, though, they're very consistent with their up-tempo. Come out of the huddle. There's still 18-19 left on the play clock. First and 10 situation. Means just a power play. Inside the 49 to the 48. 4 quick ones. Maryland again plugging that hole. But now trying to chew up some clock. He'll take the next snap at about the 8-minute mark. 8 minutes remaining in the game. 57 yards on 13 carries for Natron Means, trying to get the ground game going for that matchup with the Denver Broncos right here on NBC next Sunday. The game will be at Mile High Stadium with Denver in control of their game with the San Diego Chargers. Brunell with the pressure coming. He had him, but the heat was there, and he was off balance throwing the ball, looking for Jimmy Smith.
Well, again, there's a deep pattern on the outside, those deep comebacks. You're going to need the time to throw the football. But Mark Brunell right there, known that he was getting pressure. Heck, you have 6 or 7 yards to go. It's better having that than third down, 15 or 16.
And it is going to be 3rd and 6 from the 48. So far, 3 of 7 on third downs today. They were only 4 of 13 on their third down conversions last week. A disappointment for Tom Coughlin. The heat is on. The tight end is there. First grab of the day for Pete Mitchell as Brunell is popped at the end of the play. Mitchell's got the first down to the 41, but what about Brunell?
Well, at least he's up a little bit. He's getting to his feet, and you know that Tom Coughlin and everybody back home in Jacksonville are saying, please get up, because he has been the key to their offense.
They brought the blitz. And Johnstone got him after he'd already released it.
It's a little chilly here, and I think that's probably what it was. He gets hit right on his hand. it might just feel just a little bit. You can see him holding his hand right there, but good thing you see right here, he's ready to throw the football again.
Quick read, Jimmy Smith with a great grab in front of Perry Carter, and again it was Carter on that side who gave Jimmy Smith about a 10-yard cushion to the line of scrimmage.
If you're going to give cushion and you're going to play off your receiver, give him maybe 6 or 7, but you start getting guys 10 yards off. I don't know, boy, that's a lot of respect for some speed, but again, you have to have confidence in your own ability to come up there, because when you do that, you're pretty much telling the Jacksonville Jaguars what to do.
7 minutes left in the game. Brunell barely got the handoff away, falling down on first down. Andre Bruce getting to the running back, Natron Means. Well, Greg Gumbel just updated us on that touchdown run for Barry Sanders, who's trying to get to the 2,000-yard plateau as well at the Silverdome. Trying to get to the playoffs when you're in for either one of those two teams.
I think as an outsider, you stand back here and you see what Barry Sanders doing. You can only root for the guy. I mean, he's such a class act. Doesn't say much. Lets his play and do all the talking.
As entertaining a back as we've ever seen in the National Football League. The blitz, Brunell with isolation on McCardell. What a grab. Was he in bounds? Yes! Concentration personified to the 2-yard line. And does Brunell do it? You bet.
Wow, that was an amazing catch. I thought the ball was going to be like 5 yards out of bounds, because Mark Brunell put some serious air under that ball and pretty much saying, okay, only my guy's going to come down with this. But an excellent job by Keenan McCardell keeping his feet in. You see him right here. He pretty much waits for the ball to come down. Fair catch. That's excitement. That's what a quarterback loves to see. A little talent by his wide receivers.
Stood in the eye behind Shelton on first and goal, and Brunell looking for the tight end. Just throws it away outside of the tackle. Smart move. That last grab by McCardell. 7 catches today, 109 yards, one red-hot receiver. And putting together, he went to the Pro Bowl last year, putting together better numbers this year than he did last year.
And Jimmy Smith telling us that it's his first Pro Bowl, and the first person he's going to invite and take to the Pro Bowl is Keenan McCardell. That's closeness.
He took him last year. He took McCardell, or McCardell took Jimmy Smith. They have a special bond, a special relationship. Second and goal. Penetration puts down Stewart for loss. Maryland coming through in a big way, all to the 5.
You see, they're putting everybody up in the line of scrimmage. They say, okay, if you're going to beat us, try to beat us with the run. And right there, just pretty much stuffing and putting the offensive line of the Jaguars about 2 or 3 yards back into their own backfield.
Drove the center, Dave Wydell, right back into the running back. He ran up the back of Wydell and lost his balance. Wydell in there. Michael Cheever had been starting. He's got a disc problem, and he's out for the year. Now 3rd and goal from the 5. Into the corner, he's got McCardell, and it's barely batted away. Dan Land over there. Never looked back, but got a piece of it.
It's just pretty much Mark Brunell dropping back and just laying the ball out there and hoping that Keenan McCardell will come down with it. And all they teach defensive backs to do is wait for the receiver to put his hands out, make the play, and try to strip him right there. Dan Lamb being able to put it there, but I don't know. That ball looked like it should have been caught by McCardell. Maybe he took his eyes off the ball once his arms went up.
23-yard attempt and a huge one for Hollis. Does he make it a 2-score game? Yes. It had been an 8-point deficit for the Raiders. Now they're in deep trouble with only 5 minutes remaining, trailing by 11. Will this be the last game for Joe Bugel as the head coach of the Oakland Raiders? So much speculation over the last few weeks, especially when players are saying, I want to call my own plays. Then you hear other stories about players walking out, not showing up for meetings. He's one of the great offensive line coaches when he was working with Joe Gibbs with the Washington Redskins.
He's from Western Pennsylvania, just a very enthusiastic guy, but just this year, it takes everybody. Everybody's going to be able to participate and do their job.
Desmond Howard from the goal line, just across the 20 to the 23-yard line. Well, and it takes an entire staff. We saw Fred Whittingham, the defensive coordinator, Ray Perkins earlier, the offensive coordinator. He's the administrator who's trusting those coordinators to make the right calls.
And there's no doubt it starts from the top. And just by talking to Joe Bugel, I mean, as excited as he is, even though they are 4-11, he knows that he's proud of some majority of his players that they haven't given up. But again, you know that when you don't show up for meetings on time, you have to take account, put it back in your own hands, back in your own shoes, saying, hey, what am I doing, or what can I do to better this football team?
Right now they're down by 11, 4:48 left on their season, and pressure coming, and Jeff George down once again. James Hamilton doesn't see much time. The rookie from North Carolina will celebrate the 5th sack of the day, the 3rd-round draft choice.
He just ran Coffin right over. He says, I'm going to get to Jeff George. I don't care if I have to go through somebody. And that's exactly what he did, just ran him right over.
So the sack all the way back to the 10. A loss of 13. And you were talking about decisions. We've seen Jeff George sacked, and he didn't have time there as well. But we've seen other quarterbacks get out of the pocket, throw the ball away, and avoid a 13-yard loss. Nat Kaufman spun down very quickly. Jose White. So depth starting to come through now on the defensive front for the Jacksonville Jaguars, an area where they're banged up, Payne, inactive, a regular starter.
And you try to almost play a guessing game with the defense, hoping that each and every offensive line will block it the right way, because they're thinking pass, and you can hear the boo of the fans out here saying you should have thrown the ball, but if it works, it's a big plus.
20 carries for Nat Kaufman, not far from the century mark at 94 yards. Pressure again, Schmeggy forcing the quarterback out, and a London with breathing room for the punter, taking it in just across the 20. So the punt coming up for the Raiders. Not many left, but they'd like to see the Raiders go for it on 4th down at 4-11.
4th down, 12 yards to go.
This will be the 3rd worst season record-wise in franchise history.
And you do, Joel. You look across the board, you see all those bigs named Tim Brown, James Jett have done a good job. Kaufman, a lot of faith in. Jeff George on the other side. You look at a lot of players, they just haven't been able to put it together. I don't know whether it's a lack of leadership or just everybody waiting for somebody else to make the play.
Barlow collared at the 35-yard line by Kenny Shedd. So the Jaguars get it back in control. We return to Oakland.
Now when you buy Pepsi products, you can instantly win one of thousands of PlayStation games and consoles. It might just change your plans for the holidays.
Santa, you're 6 hours late, and the reindeer and I are sick of playing poker.
Hey, guys.
Unexpected to 14 catches, but Tim Brown is going to get the football somehow, some way.
And right now the Jaguars want to run out the clock. 3:35 left. Natron Means nifty moves across the 40 to the 42. Right now the Raiders, and obviously their score operator, in total denial. They don't want the season to go away because they still have posted for some time 17-9. They'd like to keep it a 1-score game. It is an 11-point lead, though, a 2-score game.
A gain of 7 yards on the run.
Well, now they bring Rob Johnson. You see Jeff George right there, and he's got to be frustrated. He told us yesterday, with all the individual stats, what Tim Brown has done, what Coffin has done, what himself and James Jett, it doesn't mean anything when you've only won 4 games during the course of the season.
2nd and short. Rob Johnson in at quarterback for Mark Brunell. Good moves by Means. Stays in bounds with the 1st down. And what Tim Brown brought up was interesting. He says, I don't know if we have enough guys that are willing to fight for the good of the cause, meaning the collective as opposed to individual efforts.
And he said that if we find out in this offseason and they're not willing to do what it takes, they're going to be gone, and I'm going to make sure of it. Not those exact words, but it was pretty close to that because he wants to win, and I've known Tim for many, many years. I've talked to him, and he's just frustrated that he doesn't feel that everybody has the same attitude that he has. And you know that what type of player he is. He wants to not only be big with the numbers, but he wants to be big with the numbers on the win side, the win column.
Minnesota Vikings go to the playoffs as we update you with the 10-minute ticker. And leadership, a quality that you don't need to try to make someone a leader, obviously. It has to be someone like a Tim Brown who takes it upon himself, and especially in the locker room during the week. I remember what Marv Levy told me when we had the Buffalo Bills very early before I was working with you in the first half of the season. He said, Ken Hull and Jim Kelly are gone. We lost 2 leaders. And as much as we lost offensively, as Means just bangs it straight ahead, he goes, the leadership qualities they got is what we really suffer from in the locker room and during the actual work week. And I think maybe that's what Tim Brown was talking about as well, the leadership that's lacking on this team.
Second and 9.
On the opposite side, though, you have an expansion team in only their 3rd year. Now, there is the consummate leader. Tom Coughlin is a general. He sends a message, and he expects certain things from his players.
Well, different coaches demand and expect maybe the assistants to take a role, some players, but Tom Coughlin, just by talking to him, you know the players respect him. They almost know that he's not only a leader for them, he's like a field general. He knows exactly what has to be done. He has the right people in the right positions, but everybody's goal is the same. Everybody's attitude is focused to one thing, and that's winning.
Another timeout taken. When we meet on Saturdays, and I've had the Jaguars 5 times this year, you meet with Mark Brunell. We met with James Stewart yesterday. They know what's expected. Brunell and next to him, Big Tony Baselli. A couple of leaders right there. You can tell from just a 15-20 minute conversation that they dictate the tempo.
Well, that's what we had on our Bills team. I remember Darryl Talley and a few others, but
Jimmy Smith on the long grab working up against Perry Carter. That was a frozen rope by former USC Trojan Rob Johnson, and a beauty.
And a little different, too, because Mark Brunell is a quarterback that's been putting more under the ball. That time, Rob Johnson puts the ball perfectly in stride, right where he's supposed to. And I did his game when he was 21 for 27. That his stats pretty much prove that. He's what every team needs, and that's a quality backup.
The celebration continues for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Mark Brunell, and they will get that 500 record on the road this year.
Craig Lambert isn't too worried about how to invest for Zach's college education. That's because he works with a broker from Dean Witter. Together, they developed a long-term investment plan to help take Zach wherever he wants to go.
Clients feel most comfortable with our ability to see things from their perspective.
Now, when Craig looks into his son's eyes, he can see the future and smile. Dean Witter.
We measure success, one investor at a time.
Buying tires is a whole lot easier at a place with a good selection. Well, Sears has Michelins for whatever you drive. And right now, they're all on sale. Save on every Michelin in every size. So get in, get tires, and get rolling. Sears Auto Center.
You know, the real me's pretty basic. I'm even a little practical. Like a while back, I noticed I had some flakes. So naturally, I started using Head & Shoulders. It helps keep the flakes away. And if it leaves my hair looking like this, why mess with a good thing?
Okay, so the critics love Just Shoot Me. They think it's bold, clever, on target, blah, blah, blah. Here, just watch it.
Notice how I made his sexuality leap off the page.
Oh, yeah, you're a genius. You took a picture of one of the hottest women in the world and somehow made her look beautiful. What's your secret? Are you using some kind of film?
Just Shoot Me, Tuesdays on NBC.
2 minutes remaining on the Oakland Raiders season. It will continue for the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the drive will continue as well for Rob Johnson. It was absolutely magnificent on opening day and the 1-point win. They'll take a knee on first down. Oakland has used their timeouts. And somebody forgot to tell the Raiders Lance Johnstone, if they did, he didn't listen, that they were taking a knee.
Well, that's one thing you never want to see. I mean, the game is over, and you want to get the snap. You don't want anybody to get hurt, and that's pretty much uncalled for. That's frustration right there.
Penalty flag is coming.
Frustration in bold print.
In just a moment after Johnny.
Offsetting, personal fouls. 62, offense, number 51, defense, both of them are ejected.
That's Ben Coleman protecting his quarterback, Lance Johnstone, taking after.
Oh, right there, you just see it. That's Johnston.
And he started with the tight end Pete Mitchell, actually.
And the thing is, that's, like I said, that's total frustration. You don't need to do that. Your season's going to be over. You don't need to be able to, start a fight or do anything like that. And I'm sure, like I said, he's just disappointed in the way the season is went. He's disappointed their team is going to be losing today. And it's just sad to see a game end like that.
In just a moment, we're going to be joining Dick Enberg, Paul McGuire, and Phil Simms at the Silver Dome in Pontiac for that huge matchup, with a playoff spot on the line for both the New York Jets and the Detroit Lions. Last report, Detroit leading 13-10 in that contest. And it remains that way. So stay with us for more of our second half of the doubleheader here on NBC. Rob Johnson threw for 294 on opening day against the Baltimore Ravens in that dramatic one-point win for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's an unrestricted free agent. He may be the most marketable free agent during the offseason.
And I think he's the quiet type. I think not too many people are talking about him. Believe me, every general manager that needs a quarterback knows where Rob Johnson sits.
And next year he'll be starting only his 4th season. Former U.S. Trojan, 4th round pick in '95. Teammate of Tony Baselli's.
Well, he's a mobile quarterback too. I remember doing their game early in the season where he did come in for Brunell when Brunell was injured, and they talked about what he was able to do, what he can do as far as hitting the football. And when you are a mobile quarterback, it adds another dimension to your offense. The defenses have to prepare in that way.
No letdown for the Jacksonville Jaguars. You look at the other team from the other side, the Carolina Panthers finished at 7-9 on the season. The Jacksonville Jaguars improved off their 9-7 record of last year. They'll finish at 11-5. And it's interesting the way Tom Coughlin always sets little themes. He got wet just a moment ago, and a well-deserved shower. He's got the respect of his squad, and he comes up with different themes to keep their focus each week. When we sit down and talk with him, I know how impressed you are. And he talked about poise under pressure. He set goals this week. He wanted a 5 record on the road this year to take steps in the right direction, and also the positive steps towards the postseason, which is going to start on the road at Denver for the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Well, he's an enthusiastic coach. He demands a lot out of his players and his coaching staff, and just a classy individual. Every time that I talk to him, I just leave that room saying, that's one heck of a coach.
Delay call. Delay of game against the Jaguars. 16 seconds remaining. The Raiders will get the ball back after Jacksonville takes one more snap and a knee. Mathematics didn't work out exactly like they wanted. Don't forget, we are headed to Detroit. Pick up play for the Jets and the Lions.
20 seconds. Thank you.
They'll add 4 seconds to the clock. It was a necessity.
It was, huh? Well, they're going to kneel down there, give the ball back to the Raiders, and pretty much play to prevent, put guys about midfield, just not let anything big happen. It really doesn't matter at this point anyways. Maybe the best thing for the Raiders to do is just come back in, kneel down themselves. Don't have any injuries, don't allow anybody to get injured, and pretty much say, okay, guys, let's get ready. The season's over. Let's focus on next year.
And now for the Oakland Raiders, you wouldn't think it'd be an overhaul offensively, but massive changes you would think on the other side of the line defensively, wouldn't you, Jim?
Well, you have to make some changes. When your defense is ranked at the bottom in almost every category, you have to make some changes. And I haven't been around the Raiders organization enough to know that whether it's the coaching style, whether it's the players, and usually schemes don't win football games, players do.
So Jeff George in. Orlando Truitt. Keep him in bounds, guys.
Pretty much go down.
That'll do it. Clock will run. And we wish you and your family a happy holiday from all of us. Final seconds of the season. Will it be the final seconds of Joe Bugle's career as the coach for the Oakland Raiders? That question will be answered shortly by Al Davis. An 11-5 record for the third-year Jacksonville Jaguars, and that is truly an amazing success story.
It's impressive to see guys like Mark Brunell and Tony Baselli and everybody that's meant so much to that organization. They did a good job, and they need to be congratulated.
So our final score here at the Coliseum, 20-9. Now, for Jim Kelly, I'm Joel Myers. Let's head to Detroit and join Dick Enberg, Paul McGuire, and Phil Simms. So long, everybody.